shared services between school districts. And he also actually brought up the example of our school district where sometimes things don't work as far as shared services. And one of the things he brought up was transportation, where in fact, if we had gone outside and gotten competitive bidding, because of the tiering, it would have actually cost us more. And then he also cited our district for being one of the best for being able to do some shared services in some other areas that we participate in other districts.
Well, one of the stats I found interesting is I went on and I looked at what's Chester for KFC, because I believe they lead the educational commission system, CPS doctors. And their transportation line item, I believe, is $847 and change for how many kids did that have? 1,400?
No, it's closer to
1,200. And I compared that to Washington Township's K-8, and it's 3,300 students, that's approximately, getting around just right under the magic number. And I believe that their transportation cost is $3.3 million. So, seems to be a little high. 2 times 8.5, 850,000 is what, 2.5 million? And for 2 times as many kids next door, they're at 3.6. You follow? So Chester Township is transporting from 1,300 kids at a line item of $847,000. We've got that to stop, look into that. And Washington Township K-8 is transporting 3,300 kids, give or take, for $2.2 million.
Right. I'm not arguing with you, but you then also have to look at like the routes. Because when you just have Chester Township and Chester Borough compared to Washington Township, you have that huge geographical difference that really then does come into play. I'm not.
24.5 to 44.9.
It's because of the location of Central High School. It's not centrally located. Remember, centrally located. We remember the Chesters. Central High School is technically in Chester at the farthest corner of Washington Township, so technically those routes are a little bit longer because each route to get to the school is a bit longer. That's part of it.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, so when we had our last meeting, we had those 2 routes listed. I focused on those 2, the comparison between the 2 schools, and taking up the uppermost cost and lowest cost to try to get at the anomalies. The rates, my averages were about the same, about 29,000. When you threw them back in for the 9 routes and the 20 or 21 routes, it reversed to like 29, 28,000. So I was surprised at the 31,000 as an average.
I just took the total.
2 fronts?
Yeah.
So did I.
Just common divided by 9, and then.
Something that people looking at it.
Like Stu, I've spent a little time since our last meeting running some numbers. And I have a motion. We already have a copy for you, so it's a little bit long. You don't have to call it over after every meeting. Make a motion to direct Superintendent Anthony Diavista, Business Administrator Doug Pekanek, and Director of Special Services Dr. David Lee to confirm or correct the following district education cost budget for fiscal year 2010-11. Number 1, the West Morris Regional High School District spent a total of $11.1 million on 417 special education students, an average of $27,000 per student, equal to 1.8 times the average amount spent on unspecial education students. Number 2, the West Morris Regional High School District pays tuition for 71.5 special education students at the average rate of $40,000 per student, equal to 2.6 times the average amount spent on unspecial education students. And number 3, the West Morris Regional High School District spends an average of $15,000 on each of its 2,396 non-special education students.
You talk as follows?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me share that. Sorry.
Is there a second?
We need a second to start.
Discussion.
The reason for my motion is because at almost every meeting, this board is asked to vote on significant expenditures, and my wish and hope is that we could be better informed about, before making these decisions, we're asked to vote about at every meeting. And your confirming or correcting these numbers would help us to be better informed on these issues.
Any other discussion? I'd like to say, personally, I'm not comfortable voting on the motion, but I have only a couple minutes to adjust.
Thank you, Ron.
Moving 5 minutes in the meeting to get our packages on Friday before our board meeting, so we have 4 days to go over and ask the questions answered.
It's pretty simple and straightforward. All I'm asking is that I
You don't
confirm
have the
or
analysis there,
correct.
and I don't know that.
Well, I'm asking that to confirm or correct it, one or the other. That's all I'm asking.
Any other discussion?
What are our options with this? With this motion?
And, vote in favor of it, oppose it, or abstain? Okay, so that would be another motion.
We have no backup to know if these numbers are correct. I don't see how we can vote for a motion where we have no backup or any time to examine it. Nor do I care to do so at this meeting.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
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 Abstain. Thank you for the information. Is there any other old business? And I'd like to open to the public. Again, state your name and town, and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Yes.
Christy Prokop, teacher at Mendon High School. For future meetings, would it be possible to have an audio system put in to hear board members? Because you're very soft-spoken and it's hard to hear.
I apologize. I've been told that before. I'll work on it.
Thank you.
I don't know that we have a sound system, and we certainly don't have the money to have it strong like that. But I'll try to proceed louder. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Marsha Astle, Chester Township. This year, the library positions between London and Chester are shared by a single director. At what point did you evaluate that arrangement? And in doing so, how would you evaluate? Would you talk to the teachers? Are they getting less? I know that Mrs. Brooks worked very closely with the teachers on their lesson plans and having materials. I mean, it's not really just running the library like you would at your town library. And so I would be curious, do you plan to collect that sort of data? How has it affected the teachers? And is there any plan to reinstate that as a full-time position? And how would you prioritize reinstating that as opposed to reinstating other things? How do you prioritize that sort of thing?
In terms of the evaluation, I've already begun to do that. The new librarian has presented me with a series of sample policies, an acquisition policy, reading policy, her sense of cooperation with teachers, how she wants to make those presentations. I've stopped at the libraries each time I've been at Medley and at Central and have asked how things are going. So I've tried to do that evaluation both first informally from the very beginning of the school year, and then formally by the fact that she's given me some sample policies that I need to look at. I'll continue to do that. I think it's very early in the school year. I've gotten a sense of some of the work that she's already done with teachers. I'll continue to monitor that. When it comes to the cuts, all of the cuts that we've had on the table, we have prioritized, but they were also dependent upon the total amount of cuts that we were faced with. So it was, cutting a librarian was not something that was an action that we wanted to take, but given the total amount last year and the fact that one person was retiring, it seemed to us to be a way to go in terms of a pilot for the time being. As we move forward, we'll continue to monitor it.
Would you formally ask the teachers how that has affected, especially some teachers who have, used Mrs. Brooks and her services for years compared to how did it affect their classroom?
Yeah, in fact, I've had teachers already give me a report on some of the presentations that other librarians did. So yes, I've done that.
Any other questions or comments? Nobody else? All right, if there's no others, then I'll close the public at this time. Any motion to adjourn?